Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. At the edge of a small, dusty shooting range nestled between rolling hills, a small crowd had gathered. Most of them were young, confident marksmen, proudly displaying the latest sleek rifles gleaming in the fading light. Their chatter buzzed with excitement about the competition ahead, but all eyes kept drifting toward one figure who stood apart, a quiet woman in simple, worn clothes, gripping an old rifle that looked like a relic from another era. Its wooden stock was scratched and faded, and the metal barrel bore the marks of countless battles with time. The rifle looked out of place among the modern weapons, like a forgotten piece of history. Her name was Amina. No one knew much about her. She rarely spoke, and when she did, her voice was soft but firm. Yet today, as the murmurs of mockery swirled around her, she seemed indifferent. "Why are you even here?" A young man sneered from the crowd. His rifle gleamed sharply in his hands. "That thing's a joke. No way you can hit the target at 1,000 meters with that ancient piece of junk." Laughter broke out. Amina's eyes didn't waver. She simply nodded and adjusted her grip. The challenge was clear, but so was her resolve. She had been coming to this range for months, quietly practicing while everyone else noticed only the dust she kicked up or the worn clothes she wore. No one took her seriously. No one knew the story behind her old rifle, nor the skill that rested quietly beneath her calm exterior. The backstory: Amina grew up in a small village, far from the bustling cities and their distractions. Her childhood was shaped by hardship. Her father was a soldier, a sharpshooter known for his calm under pressure and unmatched precision. From an early age, he taught her to respect the rifle, not as a weapon, but as an extension of oneself, a tool for focus and survival. When Amina was just 10, her village was caught in the crossfire of a conflict that devastated everything she knew. Her father, guarding their home, was gravely injured. Before he passed, he gave her the old rifle, the very one she now held. "This rifle is more than wood and metal," he whispered. "It holds your strength, your focus, your spirit. Train with it, and you'll carry us both." For years, Amina practiced in secret, honing her aim with patience and determination. She learned to breathe with the rifle, to listen to its rhythm. But as peace returned, her village faded from memory for most, and her old rifle was dismissed as outdated. Relic by new shooters with modern gear. The challenge today was the day Amina had waited for. The shooting competition was the biggest in the region. The prize wasn't just a trophy. It was respect, recognition, and the chance to prove that true skill doesn't depend on fancy equipment. As the announcer called out the challenge, hitting 10 bullseyes from 1,000 meters away, the crowd grew louder. Everyone assumed the winner was obvious. Their bets were on the young sharpshooters with cutting-edge rifles. Amina's turn came last. She stepped up to the firing line, her heart steady, but her mind sharp. She raised the old rifle, adjusted her stance, and took a deep breath. The target was a small circle, barely visible at such a distance. Whispers rose in the crowd. "No way! She'll miss every shot." The first shot Amina focused. Her finger gently squeezed the trigger. The rifle cracked, echoing across the valley. The bullet flew, tracing an invisible path through the air. When the shot hit, the crowd gasped. The first bullseye. She didn't react. She calmly prepared for the second shot, building suspense. With each shot, the tension mounted. One by one, the bullets found their mark with precision that no one expected. The crowd's laughter faded into silence, replaced by disbelief. Faces that had mocked her moments ago now watched, eyes wide, some mouths agape. By the 8th shot, a nervous murmur ran through the spectators. "Is this for real?" someone whispered. Amina's hands remained steady, her breathing controlled. She was in her element. The final shots, the 9th shot, hit near perfectly. Now all eyes were fixed on her. The last bullet loaded. The old rifle raised one final time. She exhaled slowly, squeezed the trigger, and the shot rang out. 10 perfect bullseyes. A roar of stunned applause exploded from the crowd. The aftermath, Amina lowered the rifle and looked up at the crowd. For the first time. She spoke softly, but with undeniable strength. "This rifle tells a story," she said. "It's not about the weapon, but the person who wields it, their heart, their patience, their dedication." The young men who had mocked her before stood speechless, faces flushed with shame and awe. One approached her cautiously. How did you do it?" Amina smiled faintly. "Years of practice, and never underestimating the power of focus." Emotional connection. As the crowd began to disperse, a few stayed behind. They asked her about her story, about the old rifle, about her father, about the village she came from. Her quiet strength inspired many, reminding them that real skill and courage come from within, not from flashy equipment or loud boasts. And as the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, Amina felt a quiet peace. She had proved what mattered most. The applause still echoed faintly in the background as Amina packed her rifle carefully into its worn leather case. The crowd was dispersing slowly, many still whispering about the quiet woman who had just stunned everyone. But the story behind Amina's incredible shot was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The afterglow and the doubts back in the small town where the shooting range was located. Amina found herself the subject of curiosity and speculation. At the local diner, the usual patrons who barely noticed her presence before now eyed her with a mix of awe and disbelief. "Did you see that?" An older man asked his friend over coffee. "That woman, she hit every bullseye from 1,000 meters away with that old rifle. It's unheard of." Amina sat quietly in the corner booth, stirring her tea. She wasn't looking for praise or attention, but the event had stirred something deep inside her, a mixture of pride, pain, and a reminder of a past she had long tried to leave behind. The shadows of her past few knew the true story behind Amina's skill and determination. Her father's lessons were more than just about shooting. They were about survival in a world that had shown her family little mercy. After the village was destroyed during the conflict, Amina and her mother had fled to the city, living in a small, cramped apartment where every day was a struggle. The rifle her father had given her was their only connection to better days, a symbol of resilience and hope. But tragedy struck again when her mother fell ill. Medical bills piled up, and Amina took on any job she could find, cleaning, cooking, even guarding night shifts to pay for her mother's treatment. Throughout it all, the rifle remained her anchor. Training in secret, despite her harsh reality, Amina never stopped training. Early mornings and late nights were spent at the outskirts of town, where the noise wouldn't draw attention, practicing breath control, steadiness, and precision. The old rifle was her constant companion, a tool that connected her to her father's memory and kept her focused on a future beyond hardship. "Talent isn't enough," she would tell herself, "only discipline and heart." An unexpected visitor. One chilly evening, as Amina prepared for another solitary practice session, a knock came at her door. Standing there was an older man, dressed in a weathered military jacket. "I'm Colonel Rahim," he said quietly. "I heard about your performance at the range. That rifle shot wasn't luck. You have skill, rare skill." Amina hesitated, but invited him inside. The colonel's proposal, Colonel Rahim, explained that he was part of a specialized marksmanship unit, always on the lookout for hidden talent. He'd heard stories about Amina's precision and wanted to offer her a chance to train with experienced shooters, to refine her skills even more. "You have potential to do great things," he said. "But it's not just about shooting. It's about discipline, strategy, and using your talent to protect others." Amina felt a mix of emotions. Fear, hope, and determination. Could this be the turning point she'd been waiting for? Facing new challenges joining the unit wasn't easy. The training was grueling, pushing Amina's limits physically and mentally. She was surrounded by men and women with years of experience, some skeptical of the quiet newcomer with the outdated rifle. At first, many dismissed her. "What's she doing here?" some muttered. "She's not one of us." But Amina let her actions speak louder than words. Day by day, she proved herself, mastering new weapons, learning tactics, and developing an unshakable focus that even seasoned sharpshooters admired. The rival among her peers was Tariq, a confident young marksman who saw Amina as a threat to his status. Their rivalry grew intense, with Tariq openly challenging her skills and mocking her background. "You think you can keep up with us?" he sneered one day during training. "That old rifle won't save you here." But during a high-stakes exercise, Amina's precision and calm nerves outshone everyone. She hit a moving target at an impossible angle, earning reluctant respect from Tariq and the others. Memories and motivation. Late at night, alone in her bunk, Amina often thought of her father's words and the village she lost. The rifle wasn't just a weapon. It was a legacy, a promise to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Her motivation grew stronger. She wasn't just proving her skill for herself, but for her family, her past, and the future she dreamed of. A test of trust. As the unit prepared for a critical field exercise, Colonel Rahim assigned Amina a special task: to lead a long-distance precision shooting mission under extreme conditions. It was a test of everything she had learned, a chance to prove she was more than just luck or an old rifle. The night before the mission, Amina lay awake, nerves and determination swirling within her. She knew this was more than a test. It was a chance to rewrite her story. Cliffhanger. The mission begins, sir. Next morning, Amina and her team moved silently through the rugged terrain, the weight of their mission heavy on their shoulders. Every step was calculated, every breath controlled. Amina raised her rifle, scanning the horizon through the scope. Somewhere out there, the target waited, and so did the challenge of a lifetime. As the sun climbed higher, she steadied her aim and prepared to shoot, knowing that everything depended on her skill, her focus, and the old rifle that carried the strength of generations. The sun had barely risen when Amina and her team reached their designated position, a rocky outcrop overlooking a narrow valley cloaked in morning mist. The mission was clear: identify and neutralize a hostile sniper rumored to be threatening nearby villages. The operation required utmost precision and stealth, and Amina, with her old rifle that had become a symbol of grit and skill, was at the heart of it. The weight of responsibility. As she crouched behind the jagged rocks, Amina's fingers carefully checked the rifle's worn stock and barrel. Every scratch and dent told a story, each a memory of past trials and victories. She whispered a silent prayer, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever before. Her team, a small but highly trained unit, spread out silently around her. Tariq, the rival who had grown from critic to cautious ally, nodded once in acknowledgement. Despite their differences, the mission depended on trust and teamwork. The calm. Before the storm minutes stretched into hours as the mist thickened, masking the world in ghostly grey. Amina's focus sharpened. She breathed slowly, controlled, matching the rhythm her father had taught her years ago. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Through the scope, a shadow moved behind the trees on the opposite ridge. The sniper was real. First engagement, Amina raised her rifle, adjusted for wind and distance. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady. The shot echoed like a whisper in the valley. The target flinched and disappeared, Good shot, Colonel Rahim's voice crackled through the radio. But the mission was far from over. The chase begins. The hostile sniper was cunning, disappearing into the landscape like a ghost. Amina and her team advanced carefully, tracking signs and moving silently through the terrain. Every step held danger. During a brief rest, Tariq approached. "You're different from what I expected," he said quietly. "There's more to you than just good aim." Amina glanced at him, a faint smile touching her lips. "We all have stories, Tariq. Some just hide theirs better." A dangerous ambush as they neared the enemy's suspected location. The team was caught in a sudden ambush. Bullets tore through the air and chaos erupted. Amina dove for cover, her rifle ready. In the midst of the firefight, she saw one of her teammates fall, wounded. Panic threatened to take hold, but Amina's training kicked in. She called for backup, administered first aid, and kept her focus. Thus, old rifle steadied her hands like an extension of her will. The final confrontation. With the team regrouped, Amina prepared for the final confrontation. She moved to a new vantage point, heart hammering but mind razor sharp. The sniper's location was now pinpointed, a lone figure concealed among dense foliage. Amina adjusted her sights, calculated the distance and wind, and took a deep breath. One shot, one chance. The shot that changed everything. The bullet flew true, striking the enemy's weapon and disarming the threat. The sniper fled, wounded and defeated. The mission was a success. Back at base, the team celebrated quietly, knowing the cost had been high, but the victory necessary. Colonel Rahim approached Amina with a rare smile. "You've proven yourself today, not just as a marksman, but as a leader." Doubts and reflection. That night, alone in her quarters, Amina stared at the ceiling. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a heavy ache of doubt. Was this truly her path? Could she live with the violence and loss? Her father's words echoed in her mind, focus and heart. She realized that her journey was not just about the rifle or the shots fired. It was about purpose, a letter from home. The next morning, a letter arrived from her mother's village. It was a plea for help. The community was struggling, caught. Between political turmoil and poverty, Amina felt a surge of resolve. This was why she had trained, why she had endured. To protect those who could not protect themselves. Preparing for what's next, she began planning a new mission, not one of violence, but of aid and hope. She would return to her roots and fight a different kind of battle. But first, she had to prove herself once more to those who doubted her. The rivalry with Tariq, the skepticism of the unit, and the scars of the past all stood in her way. Cliffhanger. The crossroads as Amina packed her belongings, the weight of the old rifle in her hands reminded her of the journey ahead. The path was uncertain, the challenges immense, but with every step, every breath, and every shot, she was ready to face whatever came. The quiet woman with the old rifle was no longer a mystery. She was a force to be reckoned with. The dusty road leading back to her mother's village was lined with memories and heavy with uncertainty. Amina's old rifle was slung over her shoulder, a symbol of everything she had endured and everything she hoped to protect. This was no longer just about marksmanship or survival. It was about redemption, healing, and the chance to rebuild. Return. To roots, the village looked different from the faded photographs she had kept in her heart. Buildings scarred by conflict stood alongside newly built homes, where children played despite the shadow of past violence. Faces turned to watch the woman who returned, a stranger, yet unmistakably one of their own. Amina's mother greeted her with tears and quiet pride. The reunion was bittersweet. So much had changed, yet the bonds of family remained unbroken. The mission of mercy. With the support of the village elders and Colonel Rahim's team, Amina organized a relief effort. Supplies, medical aid and food were distributed to families. who had suffered under years of hardship. But the true battle was less visible, the battle to restore hope. Bridging divides, Amina found herself mediating between factions that had long been divided by fear and mistrust. Her quiet strength and steadfast determination inspired others to listen and find common ground. The rifle she once used to defend became a symbol of protection rather than violence, a reminder of resilience and courage. Tariq's change of heart. In the midst of this fragile peace, Tariq appeared at the village with a small group of soldiers. His attitude had changed. No longer a rival, he was now an ally, acknowledging Amina's leadership and vision. "I was wrong to doubt you," he admitted. "You've shown me what true strength looks like." Their alliance marked a turning point, showing that even the deepest wounds could begin to heal. Facing new threats, but peace was fragile. Rumors spread of armed groups seeking to exploit the village's recovery. Amina knew she couldn't lower her guard. She trained local volunteers, teaching them the skills that had saved her life: discipline, marksmanship, and most importantly, the courage to stand together. The final test one evening, as darkness fell, the village came under threat. Armed men approached, intent on seizing control. Amina took her place atop a hill, rifle in hand, her heart steady but fierce. Her training, her past, and her purpose converged in that moment. With precise shots, she and the volunteers defended their home. The attackers retreated, leaving the village standing united, a new beginning. The victory was more than a military success. It was a reclaiming of dignity and hope. Amina's story spread beyond the village, inspiring others who faced adversity. The quiet woman with the old rifle had become a symbol, a beacon for those who believed in resilience and change. Legacy and reflection. As the sun set on the village, Amina sat beside her mother, the rifle resting quietly nearby. Her journey had been long and difficult, marked by pain, doubt, and struggle. But it had also been filled with courage, growth, and connection. She realized that true strength was not just in the shot that hits the target, but in the will to keep fighting for what matters. Closing words. The quiet woman who was once mocked had become a legend, not because of the rifle she carried, but because of the heart and spirit behind it, and in that she found her true victory.